Hey everyone, I'm back with a new tutorial to take the concept from last week one step further, and in doing that we are going to add video. And let's just first take a look at what the final product will end up looking like. Here we've got text, and that text is punched out, and there is a video showing through. My video is of fire. Of course, you can use any video you want. You can use any text you want. You can even use graphics instead of text. I just happen to use text for this one because it was inspired by a website that I found that happened to use text. So let me close this, and we're going to start this off. Well, first I want to show you what assets we're going to end up needing here. This is optional, a photograph of an image to take the place of the video if the video either has not loaded yet or if a browser does not support video. So I do have a JPEG here. You guys will probably want to get a graphic that is either similar to your video or is even a frame from your video. Mine happens to be a frame from my video. And then you want to have a video file, and it doesn't need to be in the right format yet, because one of the first things I'm going to show you guys is how to get it into the right format, because we actually need two formats. We need an MP4 file, and we need the same video in a WebM file. A WebM file is also a video file, but depending on the browser and depending on the platform, it may load the MP4, it may load the WebM, and you want to have both files available so that way the browser can do what it's got to do and be able to fall back on whichever one it's looking for. So the other thing we need is the text itself. So you can see here I've got textpunchout.ai and I have textpunchout.svg. I'm going to delete the SVG file. I'm also going to delete the WebM file. We'll say that we don't have those. We'll say that we've just created our text on a background and we've just got our video file and we happen to have a picture. And if you don't, you could just take a screenshot from that video again. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up my text punch out in Adobe Illustrator, and all this is text, just text typed out in a text box on top of a black bar. I do recommend making your black bar disproportionately wide, giving yourself extra space on the sides, so that way if someone is on a wider computer screen, they're going to be able to make their browser wider before it starts to stretch out the text. Because when it does start to stretch out the text could become too tall to fit in its container. If you're on a 27-inch iMac or something like that, when we get to the end of this tutorial, you'll be able to test it out and kind of use trial and error. But for the most part, if yours looks anything like this in proportions, you'll probably be okay. So what I need to do now, since this is white text, is I need to convert it from text into what are called outlines and turn it into a vector shape instead of being typed text. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go up here to type, and on the type menu, I want to choose create outlines. And when I choose create outlines, you can see that there are a bunch of points because this is now a graphic. It's a graphic that happens to look like text. Now that I have this graphic created, I'm going to hold shift and select my background as well. So I now have the text and I have the background selected. And I'm going to open up my Pathfinder. And if you guys don't see the Pathfinder, visit the window menu and find the Pathfinder. And on the Pathfinder, I'm going to hit the second button. The second button is going to subtract the front layer from the back layer. So what it's essentially done is use the text like a cookie cutter, and it's cut into the black background. So even though it still looks like white text on a black background, it's actually not. It's actually transparent, cut out of the black. So now I can save this as an SVG file. So I'm going to go to File, I'm going to choose Save As, I'm going to choose my Video Punchout folder where I have all my other assets, and I'm going to switch the format at the bottom to SVG. And I'm going to click OK. So now I've got my SVG file, which is going to be the text layer in Muse. And now I just need to get my video all sorted out. So I've got this Fire MP4 file. It actually started out as an MOV file. It wasn't even an MP4 file. So it really doesn't matter too much what format you're in, because I would recommend for everyone to visit cloudconvert.com. I discovered this when I was trying to figure out how to get a WebM version of my video. And cloudconvert.com claims to convert anything to anything. I don't know if that's entirely true, but it does let you convert most video formats to both MP4 and to WebM. So you're able to select your files here to be converted. You're able to grab your MP4 file or whatever format it may be, and then down here you're able to convert it to the necessary format. So I'm going to convert mine to video. It already is video, but I'm going to convert it to a different format, and that format is WebM. I've already got an MP4, so I'm just converting to WebM, so I've already got both MP4 and WebM. If you guys have an MOV file, you're going to have to convert it twice. You're going to have to get your MP4 file, you're going to have to get your WebM file. And the MP4 does have to end with MP4, and the WebM file does have to end with WebM. That's very critical. Otherwise, the little plugin that we're going to use isn't going to recognize it. So now I'm ready to start conversion. It'll take a moment. It's very, very fast, but it's going to upload my source file. And you want to make sure these files are small, so that way the browser of the user on the other end isn't sitting and waiting for your video to load forever. So I've just got a short little clip. My clip happens to be, I think, 9 seconds long. I recommend your clip be somewhere between 10 and 20 seconds long. It is going to loop. The video does loop over and over again, and I no longer have it open, but you may notice that it did loop once or twice while we were looking at it. And depending on how different the first frame of video is from the last frame of video, that loop can be kind of jarring, or it could be pretty smooth. So it really does depend on your own content. So now my file's ready to download. So I'm going to download it. It's going to land in my downloads folder. I'm going to close these items, and I'm going to drag the WebM file into my folder here where I've gathered all my resources. So now I've got fire.mp4 and I've got fire.webm. So I'm ready to go because I've got my SVG, I got my picture, and I got my 2 video files. So now we're going to go back to Muse. I'm going to head over to Muse over here, and I've got an empty website ready to go, so we're all starting in the same place. The first thing I want to do is I want to go to my master page, and I want to get rid of the gap at the top of the page, and I want to get rid of the gap at the bottom of the page. And I don't really need a footer area for this either, so I'm just going to kind of collapse all those down by dragging these little blue pointers here. I don't really need a header area either. It really doesn't matter so much, so I'll get rid of that as well. So now I've just got the page body area. Now I'm going to go back to my sitemap, and I'm going to open my home page. I'm going to do this on the home page, not on the master, because this isn't going to apply to every page. It's just going to be its own sort of splash page. So when I go into this home page, I've got a white background, which is my first problem, because if the picture hasn't loaded yet, we want a color that makes sense, and once the picture loads, we're good to go, but we haven't set the picture as the background yet. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is go up to Browser Fill at the top. I'm going to click on Browser Fill, I'm going to click Add Image, and I'm going to go and find my JPEG that I have set aside. So now I'm at least one step further. I've got something visual in my background to work with. I'm going to center position it, and I'm going to switch it from tile to scale to fill, so that way it'll be somewhat responsive. If someone's screen is larger or they drag their browser out larger, it's going to automatically scale to fill the entire browser, so we're not missing space. Now the other thing is, if someone's on a really slow connection or something like that, our text is not going to show this image because it will not have loaded yet. So another recommendation I can make is click on color and then click on the eyedropper and pick the most prominent color from the video, or in this case from the photo of the video, whatever photo you just so happen to be using. So I'm going to sample this orange color here because that's the most prominent. So now if the image does fail to load, I'll even trash it, at least orange is going to show through. And then when the image does load, it's an orange video, so it won't be too glitchy looking, it won't be too jarring. So I'm going to go back to Add Image, get my JPEG back. There we go. Alright, looking good. At least I've got something to work with here. I'm also going to make my page a little bit taller just to give me some more space to work with here. And the next thing I want to do is add the video layer, because I want to make sure that the video layer is working before I go any further. So to add the video layer, you can't just drag a video in here. Dragging a video in here is not going to give us a full screen video that scales with the browser. So what I've done is I've created something on museresources.com for you guys to download. It's totally free. Head over to museresources.com, go to Library Widgets, and I've added this full screen video background file that you can download. So go ahead and download that, and once you download it and open it up, it becomes part of the library panel in Adobe Muse. So let me open up my library panel here, and I've got my full screen video background, and I can now drag that into my project here, and it adds this little pop-up screen which asks me the name of my MP4 file and the name of my WebM file. So I'm going to type those names in there. Mine was just called Fire, and it's case sensitive, so let me make sure it's lowercase fire. Oh, I guess it's uppercase fire, so that's important. So I'm going to name it uppercase fire.mp4, and this is going to be uppercase fire.webm because that happens to be the name of my files here. And now that I've done that, it's not actually good to go. because I haven't included those files in this project in any way. They're just in a folder somewhere. So what I need to do now is go to File, and I need to choose Add Files for Upload. When I choose Add Files for Upload, Muse, of course, wants to know which files I'd like to upload. I'm going to choose my two video files, fire.mp4 and fire.webm, and I'm going to open those up, which doesn't actually open anything. It's simply going to add them to the Assets panel. That's how you know you did it right. You can see I've got Fire and Fire, MP4, WebM file. Those are just hanging out, waiting for me to publish the site, and then they're going to get uploaded. And that's where they become connected with this widget that I made. So I'm going to preview this in the browser, and I'm not just going to preview page in browser, I'm going to preview site in browser to make sure that those video files get cached. So there we go. The video is working, so that's a huge step. That's a huge step in the right direction. Now we just need to lay our text over it. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'm going to close this as well, and now we're ready to lay in our SVG file. So I'm going to go ahead and create a rectangle at this point, and I'm going to draw that rectangle from edge to edge of the browser area. That's going to make it 100% page width, so it scales as the viewer scales their browser. I'm going to switch back to the regular cursor here, and I'm going to make it taller, about yay tall, and I'm also going to remove the stroke from the box. The next thing I'm going to do is add in our SVG file. So I'm going to go to the word fill on our toolbar here. I'm going to hit add image, and it asks me what image. I'm going to choose my text punchout.svg, and I'm going to drop it in there. So we've got an alignment issue first and foremost, and we've got a sizing issue. So position, I'm going to center it up. Fitting, I'm going to switch to scale to fill, so that way it becomes responsive with the width of the browser. And then the next thing is, you'll notice that the text is white. Remember how we did that punch-out step using the Pathfinder? It looks like that didn't work, right? But what's really happening here is that the text is being filled with the white that's in the box that I just drew. I just drew a rectangle that was white until I added this image. So for color right here, we don't want that color to be white. We want it to be the little white box with the red slash through it. That's no fill. And when we do that, it becomes transparent and the text starts to come through. So that's looking good. The next thing I'm going to do, real simple, I'm going to grab the rectangle tool again, and I'm going to draw a rectangle to cover up this top area here. And that's going to go from edge to edge. I'm going to remove the stroke. I'm going to set the fill to black just to kind of mask that off. And I'm going to hold Option or Alt and drag that to the bottom to duplicate it and make sure it fills the whole height here. So that's looking good. Let's preview the site in the browser again. When I preview site in browser, it looks like we have done it. It is that easy. Not too bad, right? I mean, you got to prepare your resources ahead of time. That cloudconvert.com is a big help. And then don't forget about downloading the full screen video plugin or widget, whatever you'd like to call it, from the library widgets page of museresources.com. So I hope you guys like this tutorial. I think this is a phenomenal effect. It's really cool and really not that hard to do. And your clients, you're going to knock their socks off if you guys are doing work for clients and not for yourselves. If you're doing it for yourselves, I hope you're stoked because I think it's a pretty cool effect. So if you guys haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. I've got more cool stuff coming soon. I've also got a couple extra little widgets that I've added to museresources.com just tonight, actually, a few minutes ago. So go and check those out. There's a time to redirect widget, so you can redirect viewers of your website from one page to another on a timer, and then you can also use this widget here to disable right-clicking if you don't want people right-clicking and saving images and things like that from your website. So go get that free stuff. Go get that free stuff, and please subscribe, and I'll have more cool stuff coming soon. Bye, guys.